So I was just like completely wrong about the time span of House of the Dragon. I thought it was going to be like an anthology series, whereas like what each season is like a different point in time within the time frame of the Targaryen dynasty. Like I thought it was going to be like season 1, Dance of the Dragons, season 2, Aegon's Conquest, season 3, the first Blackfire Rebellion, and so on until like the last one being Robert's Rebellion. But no, I was just completely wrong about that assumption, and what's actually happening is season 1 was just the run-up to Dance of the Dragons, and season 2 will be the actual conflict. And that kind of like warms my heart a little bit, because as I said, last review video, I was getting very nervous about how little time they had left for the conflict. But now I know there's an entire season, there's going to be 10 episodes of it, which is very exciting. Anyway, hello, my name is Jack. I am doing reviews of all the House of Dragons episodes. Today's episodes, episode 9 and episode 10. Let's get straight into it. Let's get into the episodes. Episode 9, The Green Council. Viserys is dead, Rhaegar ain't at the Red Keep, and the Greens have shut down the castle. Alicent doesn't want any blood, she doesn't want any fighting, she wants Rhaenyra to be within the court. However, all of her small council disagree with her. They think Rhaenyra and her children should probably be either locked up or killed. Everyone in the council, except for one, Lord Lyman Beesbury, who was like the oldest running member of the small council. He's like, this is an outrage, this is a disgrace, this is so disrespectful to everything Viserys stood for. And Kristen Cole is like, that's enough, and goes like full Hulk smash on the old guy, who's like probably like in his 90s. He just Hulk smashes him into the table and cracks his skull open on one of those, you know, those like ball things that they're using in the council. Which is weird, because I thought the death of Lyman Beesbury was a lot more intentional. I thought he got like slit his throat. I thought it was like a genuine murder more so than an accident done out of rage, which is just either a misconception from me or a change from source material to the books. But either way, it's continuing this theme of making what I see as the bad guys a little bit more human and a little bit more easy to empathise with. Alicent is absolutely horrified by the death. The Lord Commander of the Kingsguard is like, no, I'm out of here. He removes his cloak and puts it on the table and walks out. He's done with the Greens. But Otto holds fast and he puts the keep on lockdown. He locks up any servants that might have any loyalties to the Blacks, and he calls for all of the lords and ladies of the realm to the throne room to secure their loyalties. All except Princess Rhaenys, because her loyalty is still in question about who she actually would want on the Iron Throne. This leads to a really cool scene between Alicent and Rhaenys, and again I just want to give one more amazing show of admiration to Olivia Cook and Eve Best. Eve Best I haven't actually said much about, but she's been in it since day one. She's like Matt Smith, those characters are already adults, so they didn't need to recast her during the time jumps, and she has been, every episode, every scene she's in, she's been given it 100%, and it is really cool to see. She is doing an amazing performance all the way through the show. While this is all happening, Aegon is just missing. He's just gone, and when you're trying to usurp a throne, the person who you're intending on putting on the throne being there is kind of important. So 2 teams are sent out. Otto sends out 2 members of the Kingsguard, Sirs Eric and Arik Cargill, and Alicent sends out Sir Kristen Cole and Aemond Targaryen, Aegon's brother. Both teams being given explicit orders to return Aegon to the person who sent them out. Eventually, Aegon gets found by the Cargills and then subsequently stolen by Kristen and Aegon, and then he begs Aemond to let him go and let him find a ship, send him to Essos. He does not want to lead, he really doesn't want to be the king, and Aemond is just like, mate, I agree with you. I think you shouldn't be king either. I'm next in the throne. I would happily take the throne. This actually reminds me about something that I wanted to speak about a couple episodes ago, but I just forgot to mention, and that is the difference between Jace and Aegon. While Jace is learning Valyrian and basically being raised to be a really good stand-up dude, Aegon is sexually abusing his maids and is fathering bastards in Flea Bottom, and I don't know why I forgot to mention it, but the act of him just getting one of his servant girls pregnant without her consent just speaks volumes to the difference in character between Jace and Aegon. In the last episode, or episode 8 rather, Aegon jokes about Jace not knowing what to do with the girl, implying that he's still a virgin, and just comparing that to what Aegon is like as a character himself really speaks volumes to who really should be on the Iron Throne and who really shouldn't be on the Iron Throne. They are just two polar opposite characters, and it just speaks volumes as to the fact that Jace, and by extension the Blacks, are so much more suited to be leaders than the Greens and Aegon is. Anyway, Aegon is found and he is crowned, and during the distraction of the preparation for the coronation, one of the Cargills, I think Eric, comes to Rhaenys to save her so she can take a boat to Dragonstone to warn Rhaenyra about what's happening in King's Landing. That was a really long sentence. That was not my best sentence. Eventually, because they're in the streets of King's Landing, they get separated due to a huge flood of the commoners being pushed towards the Dragon Pit to witness the coronation of Aegon. Rhaenys finds her time to make her escape. She goes down into the Dragon Pit, grabs her dragon, and breaks through in a very end of Shrek-like fashion. She busts through the floor with her dragon and threatens, really is about to burn all of the Greens, end this war before it even started, but then she's like, nah, this is not my fight, and turns around and flies out of the Dragon Pit and heads off to Dragonstone. And this does, yet again, a really good job at showing how little importance the little folk have in this franchise, and how much everyone who plays the Game of Thrones says they're doing it for the good of the realm or whatever they're saying it for, but they really aren't. Rhaenys is trying to be the good person by getting to Dragonstone to warn Rhaenyra, but in the process she wipes out thousands of people. And it begs to question, is that really worth it just to give Rhaenyra a couple days head start? All those thousands of lives being killed in this single act of defiance. And Rhaenys is still perceived as a good guy in this world. Anyway, it's still a baller move, and it's a really badass way to end episode 9, leading us very firmly into episode 10, The Black Queen, where episode 9 focused solely on the Greens with Alicent and Otto and Aegon and the political intrigue that comes for a coup. Episode 10 focused solely on the Blacks with Rhaenyra and Daemon and Jace and the preparation of war. Because this whole episode, Daemon is so determined to go to war with the Greens to get revenge, because Daemon thinks Alicent killed Viserys, and I feel like in the next series that might be one of his defining factors, is his need to get this revenge for his brother. But Rhaenyra's like, no, I don't want war, I don't want to fight, I don't want so much bloodshed happening. Which, yet again, proves that she, and by extension her kids, really should be the people who are sitting on the Iron Throne. Rhaenyra really has a hard time this episode. Like, first off, she finds out her father was dead and that the Greens betrayed her and that they were keeping this information from her. Something that is probably a little bit more surprising, seeing that how positively they left their last encounter on. Then learning all of this information sends her pregnancy into an early labour, which causes her to have a stillbirth. Then all of the stresses that come with leading and needing to make this deal that is handed to her, which is quite a disrespectful deal, and trying to figure out whether that's a good deal or a bad deal, and whether the Greens will actually keep this deal or not because of what just happened. And then she loses her son Luke because Corlys is alive. I was just completely wrong about my predictions about him being dead. But anyway, he's back and he is helping Daemon lead the martial preparations for this upcoming war. And he recommends that they send ravens to the Arryns, the Starks, whoop whoop, and the Baratheons. But then Jace chimes in and is like, actually no, send me and Luke, because we are on our dragons a lot faster than ravens would be. We'd be able to get that message to them a lot sooner. So after swearing on their mother that they would not do any violence and they would just literally just go as messengers, Jace gets sent up north to go deal with the Arryns and the Starks, whoop whoop, and Luke gets sent down south to go deal with the Baratheons, which goes really badly. But bad just gets worse because Aemond is already there and he has already made a really good deal with the Baratheons, and the Baratheon, being a Baratheon, is just like, no, why would I want to do this really bad deal? Why would I just be someone's lapdog when I can get something out of it? Being very stubborn in the Baratheon way that we know Baratheons to be. And on top of that, Aemon's like, come here, son, let me get that eye. And he removes his eye patch to reveal a really cool prosthetic, like sapphire eye, like a purpley bluey kind of a prosthetic eye, which just looks sick. Luckily, the Lord Baratheon is like, no, he is just a messenger, let him go on his way. So Luke is allowed to leave on his dragon Axis, or Araxis, or Arix. And now I just want to talk about the special effects in these 2 episodes. First off, the practical effects. In episode 9, there was a hanging, and that was done really believably. In this episode, there is this just epic dragon fight in the sky, and it doesn't look bad. The earlier episodes had some bad graphics with the deer, but with this one it is like a-okay, and it is like really believable graphics. There are some moments where there's close-ups on Luke when he's up above the clouds and it's all peaceful right at the very end, where it's a little bit jarring, a tiniest little bit, but overall, like, the dragon design and their flight and the textures are all just seamless and incredible. For the most part, the close-ups on the characters themselves are also really, really cool as well. We get to see Storm's End finally. And I think that is all of the major houses we've seen now. Obviously, we've been to Winterfell, we've been to the Red Keep, we've been to the Eyrie, Riverrun. At the very end of the show, we barely got to see, but we did still see Casterly Rock and Highgarden. We saw the interior, at least, of Sunspear. And now we finally got to see Storm's End. So that's all of the major capital cities of Westeros we have seen on screen now, which is just epic, but that's beside the point. And also, the design of that looks really cool. And yeah, anyway, this fight, you can clearly see that Aemond just wanted to injure Luke. And again, this is where it kind of departs from the source material, where in the books, Aemond did just want to kill Luke. In this, he just wanted to torment him and physically hurt the kid, which isn't how you should be acting anyway, but he wasn't intending on killing Luke. But as it is when it's a kid who has a short temper with someone who used to bully him when he was younger, riding a war machine, they're not going to have fully control over their dragons. Particularly with Aemond potentially not being the rightful owner of his dragon, completely loses control, and Vhagar just eats Luke and Luke's dragon in a single bite, which A, is terrible for the future of Greens and their reputation, but also just an amazing visual of how this dragon just dwarfs Luke and Arix and just eats them all in one bite. Like, if he angled it right, he could have swallowed them whole. It is just ridiculous, the size of this animal, which, I mean, at least it's a fast death. Like, and again, this is where this show really does a really good job at humanizing the people who at least I see as the villains of the show. That last shot of Aemond, you can see a little bit of, what have I just done? And you can see it in his face. And Ewan Mitchell does an incredible job here of portraying that regret, disbelief, the emotions that Aemond must be feeling, where it's relief that one of the people, not the person who did it most, but one of the people who was part of the torment that he suffered in his childhood being gone, but also the regret of A, taking another human life, B, killing a family member. Yes, he's an illegitimate child, but on the other side of his family, Luke is still Rhaenyra's child, which makes him Aemon's biological nephew. So someone in his family is dead and he killed him. So that guilt and that regret and that just disbelief all flooding to his face all at once. And Ewan Mitchell does an incredible performance there. In that one shot, you can see it all. In that one split second, you can see all of that happening in his face. But either way, Rhaenyra found out and war is on. This entire episode, she has been stopping Daemon from starting the war. She has been just preparing and stopping people from doing anything and preparing because she doesn't want to fight and she doesn't want there to be bloodshed. However, now that Luke's dead, she really wants revenge now. and you can see it in her face. And again, Emma Darcy is a brilliant actor. Just their performance to become Rhaenyra and the emotions all the way through the show have been incredible. And that's it. That's season 1. And they have fully prepared me, at least, for season 2 and this all-out civil war that is about to happen in Westeros between the Greens and the Blacks. And, I am so happy with this series, and I'm even happier to realise that next season is going to be the full conflict. And I'm so happy to be wrong in that fact. In a couple of weeks, once I have got all my thoughts together, I will do an episode, a video recapping and reviewing the season as a whole. But until then, I've been Jack. This have been my review of episodes 9 and 10 of The House of the Dragon. Bye.